Welcome to the Biz Kidz Podcast. I'm your host, JD Rabali, and this show is where young entrepreneurs, future leaders, and creative thinkers come, learn, grow, and get inspired. This podcast is powered by the Biz Kidz Hub, our hands-on training and resource center dedicated to helping kids and teens launch real businesses, develop their confidence, and turn big ideas into action. Whether you're starting out or already making sales, we're here to give you the tools, the tips, the stories that bring business to life. Each week, you'll hear from successful entrepreneurs, industry experts, and even fellow biz kids who are making waves with their ventures. So buckle up because the business journey starts here. Let's dive in. Welcome to the Biz Kidz Podcast. I'm JD Rabali, your host, and today we have with us Sarah Gallant. Did I say it right? Like I said, I always mess it up.
You did.
Sarah is with the Homeschool Lab, and we work together on getting kids in the homeschool world connected to learning and opportunities. So, Sarah, like we always like to start off with is your 60-second pitch, because we teach our kids you always have to know your 60-second pitch at any time. So tell us who you are and what you do.
Well, thanks, JD. So I'm Sarah Gallant. I have the Homeschool Lab, and the Homeschool Lab is a full-service support program from homeschool families, and that ranges from live lessons, academic plans, field trips, and community as well.
And how did you get into the homeschool world of learning and tutoring?
I have a background in education, and I've always really enjoyed education. So while I was working for the public school system, I tutored, and I really enjoyed that one-on-one and that small group experience. And so that led me into leaving public school and joining the homeschool community and offering support to this area.
Were you a homeschool kid?
I was not a homeschool kid. I grew up here in Lee County, and I went to the Lee County Public Schools, but definitely a lot has changed over the years. So homeschooling has a new face than it did when I was in school.
Definitely. Well, I started homeschooling when I was in third grade. And so I am a pioneer in the homeschool world. My mom actually had to fight the school district to get the rights to actually teach me outside the school. So that was a whole fight. And then my wife, when we had our son, she had to fight the school district as well to give choices to kids to other options. So I'm well versed in the homeschool world and what goes on and all the politics behind it. But yeah, I was one of the kids that started off in the homeschool world, and now we like to support the homeschool world however we can in teaching about entrepreneurship. So you got into business for yourself. Were you, as a kid, did you have the idea of like getting into business, or were you looking at more of a career when you were in school?
As a kid, I didn't really have a lot of direction in which way I wanted to go. I think I was told the career route was the way to go, but I had that entrepreneur spirit. So I remember as a kid, I would, be at the bus stop and I'd ask the parents, hey, I'll tutor your kid in homework help for $2 an hour. So I had that entrepreneur spirit. I might not have had the guidance to kind of foster that love for entrepreneurship. So I eventually went the career route, but I'm fortunate enough to be able to take my career and turn it into my entrepreneurial job.
Exactly. So that's what we always look for is, usually it starts off as a side hustle. So it's something that you're doing on the side just to get your business up and running while you still have that comfort of having that paycheck come in every month. And that's the hardest part for most people is once you do start working a job and you have that paycheck coming in on a regular basis, it's hard to take that leap and go, okay, do I really believe in myself enough to be able to make it on my own and then to make that leap? So about what time, how long have you been doing the Homeschool Lab?
So this is going into our second year in business. So it's fairly new still, but talking about taking the leap, I think it's not only just believing in yourself and, taking that jump, but also having a good support system around you of people who are willing to believe in you. And when things get hard and you're like, oh, I don't know, and you start questioning yourself, having that good support system is also a huge part of it, I think, too.
Yeah. So were you, before you got the Homeschool Lab actually up and running as a full-time business, were you actually doing tutoring on the side to kind of bring in people slowly, or what was your kind of plan then?
So it kind of just happened organically. I did tutor on the side where I would do that a few hours a week after school. And then I just decided to go for it. I hit a point where I was like, this is my time. I had a good support at home, and so I just took the leap.
And what's kind of your subject that you're the best at? Like, what do you really enjoy teaching?
My heart is with kindergarten through fifth grade reading and math and like hands-on science and things like that. That's what I really love. And just
Oh,
really actually PE too. Throw it all in there. Anything kindergarten through fifth grade, I love it.
see, that scares me because I'm a dyslexic, and so when I was in school, a lot of people have heard my story before. Maybe you haven't, but in third grade, my teacher told my parents that I would never graduate from high school because I couldn't keep up with the reading and the math side of it. And so after my mom pulled me out of the school because she said I was never going to make it, she had me tested, and I realized I was dyslexic. Have you run across kids that have these learning disabilities like dyslexia and ADHD, and how do you deal with that?
So dyslexia is like the number most common learning disability, and it's the most unrecognized learning disability too. So, I mean, there's so many different strategies that we can use for dyslexia and ADHD. It's really just who that student is and getting to know them and what's going to work best for them. But there's so many different resources and strategies to use. It's really just based on the student and what they need.
And what I want to point out to parents that are listening to this right now, we call it a learning disability because that's what it's labeled
Yeah,
by the school system. It's not a disability. It
it's
is
not.
a superpower. So
Right.
if your kids have a dyslexia, they don't have a disability. I was labeled disabled, and I hated that. I want kids to understand that if you have dyslexia, you have ADHD, you have a superpower to see opportunities where other people don't. So we love to encourage that is like don't get caught up in being labeled. So
Right. I
um,
totally agree with that. There's a lot of people want to put a label on things, but truly, like you said, it's a superpower. You could do things and see things in ways that other people might not, which can allow you to be a problem solver in different ways too.
so what's been the biggest challenge for you to just get launched and start off in your business to get going?
I think my biggest challenge has been so my background's education. I know about education, I know how to teach. Just learning all the different aspects that come along with being a business owner, from the financial side to the marketing and everything in between. That part has been my learning curve. But being in education, I'm a lifelong learner. I'm always learning something new every day. So I've taught myself this along the way. But that's been, I guess, my biggest challenge so far.
And that's my parents were both educators too. They worked in the school system. They both had their masters in education. And when they kind of found out that I had this entrepreneur bug and like what wanted to know about business, they had a hard time because they didn't have that entrepreneur mindset of like how to start a business. And so what we've always been about is we want to be there for kids that don't have that support system to say, hey, how do you network with business people? How do you find out how they're thinking? And so that's what we're all about is making sure that kids have that opportunity. Because I never had business mentors or anything like that. I had two educators that were trying to teach me entrepreneurship by the book and
Yeah.
not by being in real life and getting your hands dirty and learning about marketing and the sales and all that good stuff. Um, as for marketing and sales, has that been an eye opener? Like, was it what you expected?
You know, yes and no. I'm trying to be better at the social media thing. That's not really my wheelhouse, but I'm learning and trying to get better at that. But for sales, it didn't come as easy as I thought it would. Just being able to, like you said, get your hands dirty in these different things and talk to people. I feel like in the beginning, it was really difficult to maybe talk to somebody about my business and um, portray myself as a business person rather than just, my educational background. So if I would have had somebody helping me along the way, showing me how to have these conversations and, different things like that, I think it would have been really helpful. So it's been a little bit of, I would say yes and no. I,
And
I've learned a
and
lot,
that's normal. And that's
right?
absolutely normal. Like what we see all the time is people that jump into business on their own. They know their craft, they know their service, they know it really well what they're doing. But how to run and operate the business is a whole different game when you're working on the business instead of in the business, or working in the business instead of on the business. So you have to kind of figure out where does that lie. If I'm going to be the business owner, am I going to run the business, or am I going to actually teach the classes and create the curriculum and everything like that? So you kind of have to see where that balances out. And so bringing on business partners that can come around you, or employees that can come around you that have those other skill sets that you may not have, so you can focus on your time and energy that's working best for you. So
Right.
from a business standpoint, I know you know how to write the curriculum and you know how to tutor. What is the aspect of the business that you think you love the most, that you enjoy the most?
I think my favorite part of being a business owner is having full autonomy over how everything is run, and being able to reach out to the people who I might need help from. That's something that's not my wheelhouse. Maybe like bookkeeping. I have a great bookkeeper, and I have the autonomy to create a team around me to help me become successful. So it's so much more like there's no limits. And I love that too. There's no limits to doing this. And I have full control over everything, of the people I choose to have around me, and building my own team for success.
And you get to choose your own vacation days. You don't have to
I
get
know.
permission to go out.
Yeah.
If you want to, if you want to
And
stop for the day, you can stop. And so
right, in school, you had to pay like $5 to wear jeans on Friday. I'm like, I can wear whatever I want now. It's just the small things, you know?
it is. And when you get those small things, and you start realizing all the little things you can make your business choices on based on what you want, it's definitely an eye opener. And that's what entrepreneurship and small business is all about. It gives you opportunity to make choices that you might not always have. As an entrepreneur, for me, when I started my business, I had young kids that were in school and they had after school programs. I was working for a company at one time, and I couldn't get to the games after school, and I couldn't go to the dance recitals because I was
Yeah.
always working. And once I opened my business, I had that autonomy to like say, hey, okay, I'm going to block out this time so I can be there for my kids and be at those events. So I'm not missing out on those. And so entrepreneurship is about choices, and you get to make those choices for yourself.
Yeah. Autonomy is huge. And as a young kid who might be listening, I don't know if that really hits home yet, but it's definitely something that is going to be such a changer in your life, is having choice over everything that we do. So,
And one of the things we see a lot is we host Biz Kidz markets where the kids actually get out and sell their products. Our average kid is making $275 at a show for a 4 or 5 hour show. Our top 20% kids are making anywhere from $700 to $1,000 in a day. And so I talk to a lot of them, and they don't want to go get a part-time job on the
no,
weekends or after school, because they're
right?
not going to make $700 to $1,000 the whole week. And they can go do one show on a Saturday, and now they have the flexibility in their schedule to have cash in their pocket, but they get to go do the fun things with their friends that they want to do. So
Yeah, absolutely.
do you run into kids that have the kind of an entrepreneur spirit, or have you noticed that in your teaching?
I've noticed a few, I run into kids who have their entrepreneur spirit, whether they're into their bracelet making, bookmarks, granola, all of those different kinds of things that they're really interested in and passionate about. I even meet kids who maybe have a passion, but they don't realize that it could be a business for them too. So I think partnering with you and having you come in and maybe teach a class would be really great for them.
Yeah, we see that too. Is it a lot of times, kids don't know what they don't know, and so they think, hey, I want to do this or I want to do that, but then once they actually see how it operates or how things run, then they really start getting to think outside of the box. And so that's
Right.
what we do field trips. You said you guys do field trips as well. What we try to do is when you're driving down the street and you see this big business, and say, I wonder how they make money. We go into the business and find out, what are you selling? How are you making your money? And seeing how the operations of the business works. That way kids have an understanding of like, oh, I get how they're doing it.
Right.
I can do something like that. And once we see kids come to one of the markets and actually see what other kids are doing, they get ideas from that and say, oh, I can make eliminate a little bit better than that, or I can
Yeah.
do this to make it different. And so it's about that competitive nature, just like sports, where you're trying to figure out what's my competitor doing? How can I do it better?
Right. I
So
wish this was
you have
around when I was a kid because I feel like this would have put me in a whole different trajectory.
oh, absolutely, because you start thinking about all of these things regarding business, and it's definitely going to get you focused on different things throughout your life. And so, um, I had a question. Now I might just slipped my mind. As
Sorry.
you get into as you get into business and you're out there, um, and you have competitors, what makes you stand out from your competitors and what you do? So this is kind of a
Yeah. So I think for what I do, it's hard because I feel like I bring a lot of passion into my business, and not to say that other people don't, but I like to just take the time with families and form that bond and connection and really walk with them in their homeschool journey. So I feel like that is what makes me different in that aspect.
And that's good. It's all about the relationship when you're
Hmm.
building a business. And a lot of times we talk customer service, and we've all heard the phrase, the customer is always right. But really, it's about building the relationship with your
Yeah.
customers, and that way, it's a win-win for both of you to come to an agreement on what you're going to provide and what they need. You're out there solving problems for people, and there's a lot of homeschoolers out there,
Right.
moms, dads, that are like, I have no idea how to teach math. Have no idea how to teach reading to my kid, but I want to do the homeschool option. So they need
Mhm.
people like you because you're solving problems.
Right. And I would say, like, even just this past year, working with so many great families, I've built so many good relationships. Some of them I even consider like family now. So, I mean, it's been such a great journey and process supporting them along the way and helping them and working with their children as well.
So what's on the agenda for you for business wise? We always talk about having goals for where your
Yeah.
business wants to go. What do you see your big, hairy, audacious goal being?
Oh, I've got a few. I'm in between, but I will share both of them with you. So I'm going to continue on this year and just really fine tune all of my processes and procedures. And then I'm hoping in year three, I can open a new location in a different county and grow the business in that way. Or I'm even considering possibly franchising, but these are both things that I need to look into and learn more about. But definitely growth is my main goal for year three, for sure.
That's awesome. Now, I will tell you that franchising is a great model, but it's a very expensive model to
Yes.
start. So you may look at licensing agreements instead of
Okay, that's good to
actual
know. See, what you don't know, you
actual
don't know.
franchises. Exactly. I bought a franchise, and unfortunately, it was a bad experience, and I lost a lot of money on it, because I didn't do my due diligence, and I just thought, hey, this is a franchise. They have a system,
Mm.
and it ended up biting me, and we took a very hard financial hit from it. So looking at other options, then, like I said, instead of setting up a franchise, it can be very
Mhm.
expensive.
Yeah,
And looking at other licensing options and anything like that to kind of
I
find
just had to
other
jot
options.
down a note. I had to make
Yeah,
notes for it because I'm
yeah.
learning every day, like I said.
Now, one of the things we like to teach kids is, it is important to write down your goals. Do you write down your goals and have them set, or are they just kind of in your mind and floating around?
No, I write them down and I've got a whole desk of sticky notes. Some of them are goals, some of them are to-do list things, but I do think the goals are like, they're fluid. They're always changing. So, I might adjust it here and there, but the end goal is always the same.
Have you found a tool, either on your computer, an app, or a program that has made your business run a little bit smoother? Like something you like to use on a daily basis that,
I use a lot of like I use the Google apps, so like Google Classroom, my Gmail, my Google Business Suite. I just use a lot of Google, and that seems to be working for me because everything I share through the program with my parents is all based in Google Slides or Google Docs as well. So anything Google is my home.
okay. Have you tried any of the educational platforms where you actually can post your videos and people can buy memberships through the portal? Have you looked at those?
No, because my lessons are live and because I'm in a class with students and they're interacting with me, I don't record those and post those just for like student confidentiality. That's not something that I've done. So I don't really have recorded lessons because everything we do is live with student interaction in it.
Okay, that's good.
Yep.
And from your business kind of standpoint, have you read any books that like this really stood out to you and said, hey, this is kind of a book that helped me kind of map out the plan?
I have not, but if you have a list that you want to share with me, I'd write that down too.
Well, there's a lot of business books that
Yeah,
I could recommend to you. So we'll get it together afterwards and we'll go through some, maybe I'll send you an email list of like some of the ones that I would think are good ones to kind of get started with.
yeah, that'd be
But
great.
you know, like I said, most small business owners, they jump into business, they know their craft really well, but to get to learn the operation systems and how to build systems so this can be duplicated in different areas is the key. And so, we'll start off with the E-Myth. If you haven't read the E-Myth, definitely go get that. I can't tell you what the author is right off the top of my head, but the E-Myth talks about franchising models and building the systems so that you can actually pass it on and it can grow and scale. So it's a good one. You may end up in tears when you're reading it because it gets you at the core of like when you start looking at it like I'm doing that, I'm doing that, and you start going, I shouldn't have done that. So
Yeah,
there's
definitely
just a
one
lot
to
of
check
different.
out then.
So what advice would you give to kids out there and parents about if they're looking at starting a business and don't know what to do? What advice would you give them?
I would say, figure out something that you enjoy and try it out. Reach out to you guys at the Biz Kids Hub and, figure out how to do it. Just go for it and give it a try. You mean, being so young too, you don't really have much to lose, right? So as an adult, it can be really scary because, you have bills and things, but as a kid, just go for it. Give it a try. You don't have anything to lose. And even if you don't make money or whether you do or don't, it's a learning experience along the way, and you can apply that to a future experience and then, become a successful business owner.
Excellent advice. And if you want to get your kids involved with the Biz Kids, follow us at bizkidsusa.org and you can find out more information. We have a free training center that has resources for parents, homeschoolers to get worksheets, kind of get started thinking about, how do I start a business? So we're here to help. Our whole goal is to inspire the next generation of entrepreneurs. The kids that come through our program are not going to be the kids worried about finding a job in the future. They're going to be creating the job. So we're
Mhm.
glad you joined us, Sarah, and we will see you guys next time on the Biz Kids Podcast.
Thanks, JD.